I know.
Okay. Welcome back to the From the Fabricator podcast. I'm your host, Max Pearlstein. Thank you so much for joining me. We're back at it once again here on the monthly Glass and Glazing Wrap-Up podcast here. Thank you again for joining me. Fun show this month, this edition. Got three great guests. I'll tell you about them in a second. But this podcast is brought to you by FHC. And if you need a glass railing for award-winning American-made systems and unmatched lead time, customization, and customer support, FHC is the go-to source for glazers. Methodically engineered, ridiculously easy to install. FHC glass railing systems are in a league of their own. Explore the railing solutions at fhc-usa.com. And we're going to talk a little bit about those railing systems with John Leonard from FHC. He's coming up next, followed by Priscilla Koeckeritz of Brin Glass. And we wrap up with dapper Dan Reinhart of Salem Fabrication Technologies. Some interesting stuff. We talk about listening. We talk about peopling. We talk about ESOPs and growth. A lot of things on this podcast. Before we get to the guest, real quick, Glass Build America is coming up. The registration is open. Do it at glassbuild.com. If you want to use the code MAXPOD, MAXPOD, that gets you free entry to the show floor. We look forward to seeing you at Glass Build. You'll be hearing a lot more about that. That's September 30th to October 2nd in Dallas, Texas. All right, enough of this. Let's get to the podcast guest. We kick it off with John Leonard of FHC, and we'll see you on the other side. Okay. Kicking things off this month, I'm thrilled to be joined by John Leonard, Business Development Manager at Frameless Hardware Company, FHC. You can find them online at fhc-usa.com. This was a hectic last-minute sort of thing. John had to come in from the bullpen and step up for FHC in this spot, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful to get to meet you, John. So this is, I think we've met each other once before, kind of in passing, but it's nice to get to learn about you and talk with you. Thanks for doing the podcast.
No, thank you. Privilege and an honor. Appreciate the opportunity, Max.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to talk with you. We got a lot of things that we can cover, but I guess to start is tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you grew up, where you went to school, and really then how you made it to FHC.
Oh, of course. I'm from Los Angeles. Actually grew up and went to school literally the next town over here, Huntington Park, FHC being in Southgate. I drove through this area when I was a kid hundreds of times. I kind of knew the surroundings and knew the street. It's weird how you look back and see some of the old buildings that are still here, landmarks, and then you see stuff that wasn't, and you see the old and the new and how that changes with times. Always find that interesting. So I went to school here in Huntington Park, went to college at LA Trade Tech.
Okay.
During my summer semester, I had to look for a full-time job, and luckily they were hiring at Sierra Lawrence, which is where I was before.
Okay.
I got an opportunity there to work for the summer. In the summer, I was looking at saying, oh, maybe this isn't for me, but they said, hey, no, we like you. Can you stick around? We'll probably look for opportunities. And I'm always a person that hears the word opportunities, and I think there's always an opportunity for growth. So luckily I stayed, been there for 20 something years before changes happened. And lo and behold, I called from Chris one day. I said, hey, if you want me to sweep the floors, clean the bathrooms, I'll do whatever you like. I want to join your team.
Love it. So you've been in the industry a while. So because I know I've seen, you've been at the shows and you've been around, and you've got your fingerprints on a bunch of stuff. So it's been more than 20 years.
It's going to be 30 years in March.
Wow.
Time flies.
You don't look old enough to be in this industry 30 years. I've been in the industry like 32 years. I look like I'm 112. You don't look like you're old enough to be in this industry 30 years, my friend. So looking good.
Get all the wisdom, sir.
I love it. Well, let's talk for those who may not know, which was, I don't think there's many that may not, but let's talk real quick about FHC. What does FHC do? What does FHC offer in case, again, somebody's finding this podcast and curious about what they can get from FHC?
The biggest thing is we're making it easy for customers to do business again in the industry. One thing we cater ourselves is listening to the customers, understanding what the customer wants, trying to find solutions to a lot of these situations that come up. Not everything is a cookie cutter, easy, pick off the shelf, give you this product and the job is done. A lot of times you have to go through and figure out, okay, you got this, but I think this will work better, or vice versa. We listen to our customers. Customers might say, hey, this is a better option. And we say, you know what, thank you for bringing it up. We didn't see it that way, but now we know, and we grow. So the biggest thing I tell people is we're bringing back the service to the industry. And for us is just listening to the customers, understanding what they want, and try to cater to their needs as much as we can. We can't always be everything for everybody. Yep, like I said, we always want to listen to the customers, find solutions, figure out what the best course of action is to solve any particular project requirements. And like I think we can come through in the clutch. One thing I always brag about is our manufacturing capabilities. Like to say, probably the fastest lead times in the industry. I've seen people send me napkin drawings. Hey, can you do this? And the engineers look at me like, come on. But you know what? We'll find solutions for it. We usually come through in the clutch.
Sure, and that's that wide range of hardware. We're going to talk about your specialty in a second, but we're talking hardware from, soup to nuts sort of thing, correct? Everything that they could need, it's there for you.
Yes. And, the training grounds at the other place, I started with customer service, moved to sales. I helped with the shower door department. So I kind of need the shower doors. I kind of had my uh, crash course on our glass Herculite doors, pretty knowledgeable on them. And it just happens the glass railings is the last thing I picked up on. One great experience that I had is working with Chris Hansen and Jose Quinones. Chris Hansen being, the president of FHC, and Jose being the brand manager for a railing department. Everything just fits in smoothly. We all fit in each other's. I think everybody has a role, and I always say Jose is the technical guy. If you want a technical question answered, that's the guy you want to get to. I consider myself the voice for the department. You know what? I can talk to people about anything. Let's have a conversation. What job he has got coming up, and let's just carry that conversation that way.
Love it, love it. Yeah, Chris has been a guest on the podcast and has been awesome. And then Jose, I run into at every show, always bugging him for something, and brilliant with his technical chops on the railings. And so let's talk railings. It is an incredibly hot market right now. Just everybody is excited about it. It's into it. It's a hot trend. From your standpoint, you're in business development. What has made railings kind of take off? The glass railing side of things? Is it codes? Is it other things? Talk a little bit about the just the hotness of the FHC aspect and railings.
That's a good question. And the way I look at it, the way I approach it is I have hundreds of customers throughout that, from years of experience. And, most of them do shower doors, some do commercial, some do, glass, whatever. And I say, hey, what about railings? And some people get a little leery. It's like, it's hard. I said, it's not really that hard. Honestly, if you just read into the local building codes, know what your building codes are for your environment, everything else we can help you with, and pretty much we can find solutions for you. So really getting more customers out there to take that fear of doing railings. I mean, granted, if you're doing shower doors and all of a sudden you get this huge switchback stairs, I'd be like, pause maybe. But if you got somebody doing an outside deck, ask them, say, can I do the railings for you? You'd be surprised. People want to get a glass railings. They want the glass look. It's the nicer look nowadays. And luckily for us, we can offer different variations of systems to promote what they're looking for, and also find other ideas for them, like glass gates for pools, windscreens, different hardware solutions. As we expand, we listen to the customers. I mean, the biggest ticket people have been asking us for years is an aluminum system, which is more cost friendly for people. And for us, it was one of those things we wanted to do. We just wanted to find the right way of doing it. And I think we finally have. We're about to announce our new AR system coming out pretty soon, and our
Okay.
AW windscreen system's coming out pretty soon. So I think we can really cover the market for most needs out there.
Lots of options then. So it's not as simple as that, you have one thing that needs to fit for everybody. You have a bunch of options that they can choose from wherever they're at, in the home or the business or the multi-tenant, sort of setup.
Of course, you can go with the stainless steel post with glass. We can go with the base shoe system, the frameless look, which I think is probably the most popular system out there. You want as much glass as possible. But then you get to those where it's what I want, but the cost factor for that is too much because you have to get tempered laminated glass, what have you. Then we have the new aluminum system, which is more like price friendly for people. So we feel we can cover most needs.
So with all your time in the industry, you think glass is just finally taking off because it allows the natural light to come in. It's cleaner. It's better looking. I mean, and maybe people are tired of that jail look of the posts or
Yes.
that look of the it's a panel that's blocking the light. Do you think that the natural light factor, or is it something else that's gotten glass to taken off?
No, it is that too, because you'll see people doing bigger windows now. They want the more, sunlight to come in. They want the more clarity looking out. And if you outside your deck, do you really want to see metal, like you said, everywhere? No, if you can see glass and it still does what it does, which is protect you from falling over, then it's just an advantage of it. It might be a little bit more, but in the long run, you get the luster, that look that people want, that all glass look.
It's I love it. I mean, it's been a boon for our industry, and I think I don't know. You're on the front lines. I feel like we're only scratching the surface with railings. I think that the growth is still there, or are we further along than I think right now?
I think, like I said, getting back to having your regular glass shops really start promoting it and doing it, it takes that, well, that, glass railing's got to be done by a super professional, big corporation company that knows what they're doing. Not really. Your glass shops, so long as they understand the building code and know what's required and work with the customer through it, it's an easy solution for just about anybody. And it's not that crazy price like people think in their minds. If I
Awesome.
would have been in this, you'd be like, oh, it must be really expensive. But when you get to the weeds of it, you realize not that much. I know people have commented to me about how in the housing market, buying and selling homes is still pretty big, but a lot of people are investing in their own homes, adding, shower doors, adding bigger windows, and adding railings is just another way of adding value to their homes.
Super,
So
super,
that's
super.
another advantage.
I like it. I like it. I've got John Leonard, Business Development Manager of FHC Frameless Hardware Company with me. FHC-USA.com is where you can see the railings and everything else that FHC does. And a fun one, I like to break up my interviews with a fun question. Since you grew up in LA, you're an LA guy.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you ever run into a celebrity? And if you have, who's the biggest celebrity? Of course, I joke that Mr. Freeze is the biggest celebrity around. Obviously, there's him. But anybody else, who's the biggest celebrity you've ever run into?
I just ran into Mr. Freeze a minute ago and I told him I was in your podcast. This is Tom Max. I said
Same.
hi. I
Please,
said,
please pass that
definitely,
back. I'm honored
definitely.
by that.
But on that subject of Mr. Freeze, I always tell family, friends, I say, listen, it's one thing to work in a company that you have communication with somebody of the stature of Mr. Freeze. You can go up to him, ask him a question, I'll answer you on a one-on-one basis. There's no, come see my people talk to your people. It's always a great way of having a conversation with somebody. But you know what? I'm not a fanboy, and I mean, I see people, and I'm not one of those people that want to jump up and say, "Hey, let me take your picture, let me get your autograph."
Right.
I respect their privacy. My thing is, my brothers played hockey, my boys play hockey, so my biggest thing was hockey players, and met quite a few of them that left an impact. But if there's one person I always want to give a shout out is Paul Korea, one of the
Nice.
nicest, most down to earth people in the world you ever meet.
Nice. Nice. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks, he was
But outside of that,
yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. Very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. And good comments on Mr. Freeze too. I like it. I like it. A few more questions for John Leonard, FHC, FHC-USA.com is the website. Let's talk about we talked about Mr. Freeze, and now I'd like to know about you've been at FHC for a little while. The culture is something at FHC that it makes it special. Talk a little bit about the culture of your company and why it really is a difference maker.
It's great. I mean, every day I come to work, it's not like I'm coming to work. I'm coming to work with people that, we all push each other in the same direction. Is how do we make this company a better company? How do we make this place where people want to do business with? And it's a great feeling. I mean, like it's every morning I come in, I walk around, I make sure everybody's happy, and they are. Everybody pumps each other up. Just the culture in itself. I mean, everybody's just content being here. Like I said, with the leadership group of Barry and Chris and all the management team, I have the privilege of working with Tony LaPalma, who's not just my mentor, but my boss and director of business development. Chris Hansen, Jose Quinones, some of the other brand managers here, Danny Donahue, Mr. Showerdor. I got a
Yeah.
question on Showerdor. Who's the best guy to talk to? Is Danny Donahue. And to know that's on your team, it's just a great feeling. I love to go through will call and just meet customers and ask them, hey, what's going on? What jobs you guys are doing? Because I care. I want to know if we're doing a bad job. Tell me what it is. How can we correct ours? How can we be a better company? And I always listen. That's the biggest thing. My dad always says, listen. That's only God gave you the opportunity to listen. Though people will tell you if you're doing a bad job, they'll tell you. If you're doing a great job, take it as a grain of salt and move forward and just find ways to improve yourself.
I like it. I like it. I like the listen aspect. Your dad was a smart man on that one, and I like that term. Let's talk about FHC also. You're moving, you're building, adding
Yes.
on. Talk about the construction you've got going on out there in LA.
Seems like each time I pass through that area, that new campus is what we're calling it. It's different than what I remember the last time. And that might have been a week ago that I was there. So investing a lot, building a state-of-the-art center where we finally get everybody merged in the same place, whether it be manufacturing, customer service, sales, technical engineering. That way, it's all in one building. If I got a technical question on an engineering aspect, I could walk down the hall and say, "Hey, this project, what's going on?" Or vice versa. They have a question, "Hey, I think you sold it this way, but can we look at it this way?" everybody's there in the same building. It's just a phenomenal manufacturing facilities. I cannot speak highly enough of them. Just knowing that, hey, I can, get things done so quickly on that floor. And knowing that, hey, if we have a particular project, we can control it almost every aspect, from bending it to painting it to fabricating it, custom welding, custom drilling. I encourage every local customer, if you ever get a chance, if you're here at Lebanon, I'd love to give you a walk so you can see what we can do. And those people do, like, my God, I thought you guys were big, but how this is phenomenal. Just the tip of the iceberg as we grow.
Yeah, I was there a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago, and I know it's changed obviously dramatically because you're saying it's changing from week to week. I wholly recommend, if you find yourself in LA, that you have to come over and see what's going on over there with you guys. It's amazing. Though I don't, Andrew Herring thinks I'm a safety risk, so I don't know if I'm allowed to come back to FHC because I cause too many problems, so you might have to wrap me in bubble wrap. But anybody else can come and at least hook up with you guys and see all the greatness you've got going on at the new campus.
Yeah, when are you coming back out here? I know you met just recently for a show, I believe.
I was out for the California Glass Association and had to really kind of cut my schedule pretty tight, and so I wasn't able to come down. But I will definitely be out. There's another Glass Expo coming to Ontario in February. So if all goes well, I will come out to that and then and absolutely get to see you at the campus. I look forward to that for sure. Last question for you, my friend. What do you think the forecast is for the future? You guys staying busy? How's the market looking? What's your feel for 2025 and beyond in the good old glass industry?
Still a lot of room for growth. Beautiful part about FHC, I like to think, is, we're so diversified, meaning, we got the all glass doors, we got the aluminum storefronts. I don't think we even scratched the surface what we can do in that particular brand. Shower doors are still going on strong, and railings. I like to think with the new aluminum system coming on board for us, it'd be another huge plus, getting more customers involved doing our systems. But my biggest thing, and I always tell this story, is all you can ever ask for in life is an opportunity. Let me show you what I can. And if we do good, we like to continue to do business. If I don't, tell me what I did wrong, so at least I learned from it. But all I can ever ask for is an opportunity. So that's always been my pitch to the customers. Just let me show you what I can do for you guys.
Well, that is definitely a good one, and you gave it to me, John Leonard, business development manager, Frameless Hardware Company, FHC. Find him online and his company online, fhc-usa.com. Great group of people that you work with, and I appreciate you taking the time and taking me through the railing adventure, taking me through some of the new products, taking me through the campus, and look forward to seeing you in person one of these days, where you and I can speak in together and not through an internet that keeps going out.
Look forward to anything I can ever be about for you, Max. Just let me know. Always a pleasure being.
Thank you, my friend. We will see you soon. Thank you. Okay. Next up, excited for this one. Excuse the voice. Excited for this one. Priscilla Koeckeritz. Did I do that right?
Koeckeritz, pretty close.
Koeckeritz. Okay, from here on out, I'm calling you PK because that's how you're known. So PK, president of Brin Glass, and I should have asked you before we even started how to pronounce your last name, so I screwed that up already. Bringlass.com is where you can find them. PK is somebody that, again, I don't know very well. I've gotten to meet once at BEC, talked to here and there. Excited to get to know you, excited to learn more about what's going on in the Brin world and so on and so forth, because there's a lot happening. So PK, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Happy to be here, Max.
It's awesome to have you. Let's talk about you, because you've been in the industry for a little bit, but let's talk about your past, where you grew up, where you went to school, and then, your journey to Brin Glass and the glass industry.
Yeah, I certainly fell into the glass industry sideways, but that's kind of how I've fallen into most of my career. So
there you go.
Interesting little tidbit, PK, my middle name's actually Kara, and my mom called me PK growing up. So when I married into the Koeckeritz last name, my initials were PK, and it just was very natural for me to end up being PK again. I grew up in southern Minnesota and northwestern Arkansas. So born in Minnesota, down in the Owatonna area, so home of Iracon.
Yep.
And moved to Arkansas when I was 6, and then back to Minnesota when I was 11, and then ended up going to college at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Gotcha.
And
great.
So I jumped back and forth. So I went through having the Minnesota accent to the Southern drawl, to the Minnesota accent, to the Southern drawl. And I still get teased because if I hang around people from Arkansas and North Texas, sometimes the twang will still come out even after I've been back in Minnesota for 27 years.
Wow. And so as a kid, you got to experience the brutal Minnesota winters and some, I'm sure, hot, miserable Arkansas summers.
Oh yes, Oklahoma was even worse. Those hot July days when you come out to the parking lot and your car is 130 degrees.
Yeah.
It's it makes me kind of yearn for the winters once in a while.
Sure, sure. So back to you and your path, you had an entrepreneurial path. So after ORU, take me through a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, so I started my career actually teaching. And when I graduated from ORU, I had an invitation to stay and teach communication classes, got my master's in education, thought I would be a professional educator, but left because I didn't want to be one of those teachers who had never professionally worked, but only taught. The
Gotcha.
people I respected most were people who had industry experience. So I left, I worked in advertising and marketing, ultimately found my way back to Minnesota in 97. And in 99, I had an opportunity to join a team to do a startup in the creative services space, which was my training, marketing creative services. And the next 8.5 years, I helped build a company from a team of 20 to a team of 120 and
Wow.
serving companies like Best Buy and Target and really, really big names on the creative services. So that was a lot of fun. And it kind of got my energy going for startups. I did a consulting company after that, helped small and mid-sized businesses with growth strategies, kind of honed my sales muscles a little bit. And then in 2008, got an opportunity to help do a technology startup from the ground up. And it was an energy benchmarking company. And we built the application, launched in 2009 into the teeth of the worst commercial real estate recession.
Yes,
So
you did.
it
Boy, you
was,
picked a heck of a time there.
oh my goodness. Yes, we did. So it was bootstrapped. It was a 10-year journey. And when I exited that in 2019, I really thought I was, certainly done with startups. I'd had my fill of that, and my husband was ready for me not to do another startup.
Yep.
But I started consulting again and went back to teaching. I taught part-time at one of our local universities here and kind of thought that that was going to be my path. One of the companies that I ended up consulting with was Brin Glass Company.
Okay.
And I joined them as their chief marketing officer on a fractional basis in 2021 and got to build their marketing team and marketing capability from scratch. And Bill Sullivan, our CEO, invited me to join his senior leadership team. And so I became an integral part of senior leadership. And by 2022, he and I had a conversation and he kept, directing me towards more projects that weren't marketing related, more operations, more people, more communication. And I finally said, Bill, what do you want me to do? And he said, I want you to come work for us. So I joined the company as chief operating officer in September of 22. And then a year later, Bill announced that he was going to be ready to hang it up, ready to plan his retirement, and asked me with the board's approval if I would succeed him as CEO. So we're in that transition phase, but it's been great. Like I said, I didn't think that I would be in this role working for a company again, but to be in this industry, to work with a group of talented people. And we're an employee-owned company, as well as having union on our labor force. And so it's just an amazing experience to get to lead a company where, for the first time, my shareholders are actually all the people around me, and that's who I'm working for, and that's what I strive to lead every day.
I love it. I love it. This is cool. This is cool. And we'll talk a little bit about Brin in a second, but I love I love the entire journey and everything that you covered. And the teacher thing is big because I've run into a few people in this industry who did start out as teachers and had some either the same experiences that you did that you wanted to get and do something real, or that teaching experience gave them that extra kind of understanding of how to be a good leader. So and so I think that you check both of those boxes there. So I love that. That's a cool journey. So let's talk about Brin, because people who may not know Brin Glass might think, okay, it's Brin Glass and maybe it's a glass shop somewhere, but there is a lot to quote unquote Brin Glass. So you want to break it down what Brin Glass is all about?
Oh goodness, we have such a long history and legacy of leadership. Brin Glass was founded in 1912 in Minneapolis. The first warehouse down in, for people who know what the warehouse district or North Loop is now, there's still a historic landmark building that the Brin family built They used to truck glass via hay wagons from river barges when downtown was being built. So we were one of the original glass companies that helped, really construct a lot of downtown.
Nice.
And so the history started there. Arthur Brin started the company. His son Howard succeeded him. And then in the 70s, Doug Nelson, for many of those who are watching, bought the company. And, during the next, 25, 30 years, acquired St. Germain's Glass in Duluth, which is one of the 3 oldest companies in the city of Duluth, actually older than Brin, more than 130 years old. Wow. And then ultimately Heartland Glass in the St. Cloud area, which Bill Sullivan owned and ran for a period of time. He was a boomerang child. He got hired by Brin and then bought Heartland from Doug Nelson, and then ended up selling it back when the company became an ESOP, and then succeeded Doug Nelson in leading the company. But Doug owned the company for a really long time. Left quite a legacy of people, right? I mean, he bought and sold companies, in the glass industry primarily, right. But it was always about, the legacy that he was leaving. We're a union company. All of our labor, our glaziers, our production team at our fabrication facility, our Teamsters are all union. And Doug was very instrumental in building their pension plans, their strategies, and making sure that our labor was taken care of. And when we became an ESOP in 2013, that was really Doug's legacy to the office side of our business to create a future for them.
Right.
So it's an amazing legacy of leadership when you think that really up until, I think after 2010, we had 3 leaders, 3 owners, 3 leaders as a company. And even now there's only been a few other presidents and CEOs. So I believe if I've got my math right, I'll be the 5th CEO of Brin when I take over next year. And it's fun to be the first woman to actually lead a company like this that has been historically, 4 very strong men. I've got a great legacy. I've got big shoes to fill. I'm really excited about what the future of Brin looks like.
Yeah, you got this. I have no worries. So basically you have the glazing side, and then you also have the fabrication side as well.
Yeah, so we've actually always been in the fabrication business. So Brin, from its start, had fabrication. We actually had a multi-story building downtown, and so we cut glass, we fabricated, and then we installed. So that's actually kind of our roots have always been this very diverse company that does the full life cycle, right? We can do new construction, we can improve spaces, we have our own fab facility, and we service the life cycle of buildings. We have one of the largest service teams, in the upper Midwest here at Brin, and do some very cool work. So we've always been in the fabrication business. In 2016, we actually spun our fabrication team out of Brin proper, and they live in Fridley now. So Northwestern Glass Fab as fabrication facility. We do both residential replacement as well as commercial IG replacement, small projects, storefront, commercial interior, shower doors, heavy glass, where we provide for OEM manufacturing. We're kind of half custom fab shop, half manufacturer support. And it's a really cool place, and certainly makes us nimble as a company because our service, especially our service teams and tenant improvement teams, like we have projects, you need it fast. We can fab it, we can install it, we can make sure it's done right.
And rare for a company as big as you to be as nimble as you are. That's something. Yeah, that's something to be proud of.
Well, it's taken a little bit of time, and I really, want to give kudos to Bill Sullivan, because, COVID hit all of us, hard, and we were unaware of what we didn't know about how we needed to collaborate with 4 different locations and leaders in all those locations. We were a little bit siloed, and he really took some superhuman efforts to bring the leadership team together to help us with a vision and strategy of collaboration. This past year, things were really, really busy, end of 2023, and we had big projects going on in several places. And, our glazing teams live in 3 locations, but, we have typically around 60 glazers. We had glazers working everywhere from different offices, supporting projects, taking the right expertise to the right project. We had our glass fab team fabricating and trucking things to different sites. that to me is the really exciting piece. And I think that that's where Bill saw my background and my abilities were going to help Brin, is to continue to build that spirit of collaboration, that strategic vision. We have a goal as a company. We want to double the size of the company in the next 10 years.
Nice.
And
Nice.
that takes a lot of collaboration. And again, back to that diversity. We have to be a diverse company, and that helps us weather the cycles of construction and the residential markets and those things. And yeah, it's exciting to get to lead a company and to work on a business strategy when we've got so many tools. We got so many tools in our toolbox to deploy.
I love it. I love it. You get it. You get it. I'm with Priscilla Koeckeritz, PK, president of Brin Glass. Everything she's talked about, you can find online at bringlass.com. So for you personally, how's it been settling in? It's been a couple years now. How you feeling? How you liking the glass industry? Anything surprise you about our world?
I love the glass industry. My last startup company was in the energy space, and my clients were mechanical contractors. So the construction space isn't new to me.
Correct.
But I think what's interesting about glass is it's so unique. Every installation is unique.
Yep.
I've been getting out and spending time with our glaziers and learning from them about the projects that they are executing. And they tease me a little bit. My steel toes are too clean, and my hard head isn't banged up enough. So we gotta work on that. But I get to go out and hear from the people who are solving problems. You can plan a project within an inch of your life, and when you get out to the site, something will be different, something will change. And they are so creative and so innovative. And between our project managers and our glazing foremen and our leads on site, I just am always amazed at the things that they face every day and how they overcome them, and how creative they are, and the approaches and the solutions that they deliver, so that these glass products go into these buildings, and these buildings end up being beautiful.
That's awesome. And so I love that you're kind of figuring it out, but you obviously, because you came from a construction side, or at least the energy side. And so you were familiar with a lot of the aspects that made it a little easier. But though, Priscilla, PK, once you get in the glass industry, you don't get out. You realize that.
Bill warned me. Yeah,
okay.
he warned me.
Make sure you're aware of that. All right. So before we move on to my fun question, business overall holding up okay? You guys doing all right?
We're doing okay. I mean, I think everybody pretty much across the country this year, there's been a slowdown on the commercial construction, new construction side. Bidding activity has been relatively consistent, but projects are just paused. Interest rates have been high. It's an election year. Everybody's a little unsure. So, on our contract side, things are a little slower. We've been able, again, because we're a little bit more diverse, we've been able to pivot more energy to our service projects. There's still a lot of school work. There's still a lot of government work. Healthcare is booming in this area of the country. So it's about making sure that you know where the work is, and you know what you have to do to be able to get it and then perform it well. I mean, that's one of the things that as a team, I think we strive to do on a quarterly basis is, what does the market look like? Where do we need to focus our energy? How can our teams, move and shift to be able to chase that? So yeah, I mean, we had bigger hopes for our contract teams on new construction this year, hoping that that starts to turn in 2025.
Yeah, I think it will. And I think that the key that you said is, a lot of these things are either delayed or on hold. They're not being abandoned. And so if they're being abandoned, then we start to worry. But if we're just waiting on the interest rates, or we're waiting on certain things like what's going to happen this fall, or just delays along the way, that's a different story. If people are walking away and saying it's never going to happen, then we got to get worried a little bit. But I don't see that. I don't know if you do or not.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I think it's just a little pause in the market. I think that we're going to see that turn around. After the election, one way or the other, it'll either be the more public work and more funding for some of those kinds of projects, or it'll be a kind of re-energize of the commercial sector and private construction. So we're not overly worried. I mean, these are business cycles. We weather them. We've been around for 112 years. I'm sure that this is just another blip in our journey.
And you personally, started the business in 2009. So your skin has to be insanely thick as it is, because if you could do that, you could do anything. That was pretty brutal. So
My husband, he was pretty much done after that journey.
yeah, I don't blame him. That's a tough one. All right, fun one. I ask guests every month or every podcast. For you, do you have a go-to movie that you always want to stop and watch, or what is your all-time favorite? What does PK always stop and watch, or what's your all-time favorite movie?
I feel like you can never go wrong with Independence Day, Armageddon, or the original Star Wars movies.
Yep.
Those are the ones that seem to be repetitive on TV and they always catch my attention. But one of my all-time favorite movies, and maybe this is a little bit of a nod to my some of my time in the South, but is Steel Magnolias.
Oh, classic. Yes.
It's
Yes.
classic story, and the actresses in that movie are just like all-time greats. So it's very seldom does it appear on TV, but I was on an airplane not too long ago, and it was in the queue, and I thought I haven't seen that in forever. So it's fun to go back and watch some of those that you're like, I really enjoyed that movie.
I like it. I like it. Steel Magnolias is a classic. That's a good one. That's a good one. And I will agree with you on like Armageddon specifically. You're flipping and you see it and you see Bruce Willis or Ben Affleck and you're like, I got to watch this. And plus that line has one of my favorite, that movie has one of my favorite lines of they're sitting on the rocket and they said, well, what could go wrong? We're sitting on 14 million gallons of fuel built by the lowest bidder. So I love that line. So good stuff. Good stuff. I'm with Priscilla Koeckeritz, PK, president of Brin Glass, bringlass.com. Couple more questions for you. Curious, is there a product or service that you guys have going on right now that's got you really, really excited for the future, or it's kicking butt right now? What's hot in Brin's world right now?
I think it's a combination. Again, as we've pivoted some of our strategies and looked at where the work is, the Twin Cities were sitting on a ton of empty real estate. Downtown, both Minneapolis and St. Paul, we're seeing a much bigger surge in the tenant improvement market, which, traditionally we've always dabbled in. We've always done tenant improvement, but we're actually focusing some attention. We've dedicated some of our sales team and resources now, and really working on chasing some of that business. We think it's going to be there for many years to come. And with our fabrication facility, that's one of those places that we are nimble. We're fast and we're good, right? We can get the project, we can scope it, design it, spec it, build it, install it, I think faster and better than anybody else in our market. So that's one of the areas that we're really focused on, and we'll be really focused on here in 24 as we finish the year, and then for 25 as well.
Nice, nice. All right. Now on the flip side, what's the big worry? For me, it's labor. It's always labor. But it sounds like you obviously you have a good union situation, you have a great ESOP situation. But what's the big worry that you have going forward?
2 years ago, I was worried about labor, and we had just a lot of turnover and turmoil, I think, between the different siloed groups within the company. We've done some really cool things in February. Excuse me, I pulled 60 people, leaders from all areas, glazing leaders, production leaders, office leaders together for an offsite, and they helped set our goals for the year. So that's really helped us get our people aligned with what we're focused on. So for us, I mean, labor, if we need new positions or we got to find a replacement, yeah, labor's hard to come by, but our teams are pretty solid. I think where we're really focused is, where the market is going, and do we have the right people doing the right things, right people, right seat in the company, and do we have them trained well? I think, we do have a lot of new people in the glass industry. I'm one of them. And so are we, using the people who have a lot of experience? Are we building the right training programs? We're doing a lot right now to build our own internal training capacity, both for the specifics of glass, as well as like communication, leadership, people leadership. We have people in, people management roles who have never done them before. And so I would say that, my biggest thing that we're focused on, and I don't want to say I'm worried about it because we're focused on it, but with our growth efforts and our aspirational growth, we need to build leaders faster than this company ever has before. And that's one of the reasons I'm here.
Heck of a challenge for you. I mean, that's exciting though. I mean, you have the day-to-day stuff, but then the thought process of trying to build leaders and give people the tools that they need to do it. That's pretty energizing, I would say.
It's a lot of fun. I do a lot of peopling every day. My husband tells me there are days I come home and I don't want to people anymore with him, with our sons, with with our grandson. I'm done peopling.
I love the term peopling, I need to steal that because I think all of us in the glass industry sometimes it is such a people centric business. You do have to do a lot of dealing, and there are times you just want to shut it off. The last thing you want to do is go to that graduation party the next day because you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody after the week I've had, sort of thing. So peopling, I like that. That's we need to. You probably have it trademarked already, knowing you. You probably trademark
I
it.
don't. I don't. You're welcome to use it. I share freely of my ideas. So if I've got something that benefits somebody else, I'm always happy to give it away.
I love it. I love it. Well, that is very cool. Peopling. So Priscilla Koeckeritz, PK, president of Brin Glass, bringlass.com. Check them out there online. Last question before we let you go. Crystal ball. You mentioned a little bit, we've talked a little bit about the kind of the craziness what this year has and the way things are planning. What's 2025 and beyond look like for you? Because what's interesting about you is that you are very diverse. You do have your fingers in a lot of different things. So your view of 2025 and 2026 might be a little different than somebody else's. What are you guys seeing?
I think we're going to see a reemergence of private projects, really trying to pay attention to what industries and what the trends are. I think healthcare is going to be a big thing for a while. We're just at that place where generationally and people retiring and the age of our population, healthcare and multifamily housing, senior housing, we're going to see a lot of those. Seeing a lot of urban development, like out of the downtown proper and into kind of urban centers. And so that's a lot of renovation, a lot of rebuild. So we see that market is going to be pretty healthy. We're really excited about our fabrication team. We continue to look at how to mix it up with them. We have a new general manager who just started, Brent Hill, and I've been working with that team really intensively for the last year and a half. And we did something really unique last year, and we aligned around our customer markets. And I think this is something that my sales and marketing background is good for because I'm a very customer centric person. So it's like, how are we taking care of the customer? How are we making sure the customer gets to the right person as fast as possible? And we're responsive and we talk to them. And so at GlassFab, we actually broke our markets into our architectural team, our commercial interior and OEM team, and then our retail glass dealers. And we built both sales and internal service teams around them specifically to care for those needs. We've done similar at Brin, where we have our contract team, our tenant improvement team, and our service team. So we're getting customers to the experts. That's something that we're known for. We don't strive to necessarily be cheapest. It's never been Brin's thing. Our values are we show up, we bring it, we do it right. And we got 112 years of history behind us that says that we do. And so, I want our teams to be laser focused on the customer. If you are with your customer, then you know where the opportunities are. And to answer your question, I'm not exactly sure what my crystal ball is telling me, other than I know that if our people feel trained, prepared, and empowered to go work with our customers and solve problems, we're going to be in pretty good shape for 25 and beyond.
Love it. Love it. That's it kind of makes me think that, that you're, when somebody says, well, who's your biggest competitor? And my answer always is, myself, and it sounds like, as long as you have everything, all of your ducks in a row there, and like you said, you've empowered people and putting people in the right place, everything will be fine no matter what happens on the outside of things. So kudos. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So well done. So very, very good. I appreciate I get to say, well, I assume I'll get to see you at Glass Build. Will you be making an appearance in Dallas?
I am planning to make it to Glass Build this year. Sounds like there'll be some pretty good programs, and it's always great to see people. I have so many more people to meet in the industry, and I get inquiries on LinkedIn and things. The industry has been extremely welcoming. I have so appreciated that, and look forward as my knowledge in the industry gets stronger to be able to give back to the industry, as Bill Sullivan has, as Brin has been very involved. We want to continue that partnership with NGA and the glass industry as a whole. So I look forward to seeing what we can contribute.
Love it. Love it. The legacy will continue with Priscilla Koeckeritz, PK, as I keep calling her, president Brin Glass, bringlass.com. Thank you so much for doing the podcast. And I look forward to seeing you soon and seeing you at Glass Build, and life is good, and keep rolling, my friend. Keep rolling.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Hey glazers and fabricators, FHC, the frameless hardware company, is here to support your business. In addition to offering a complete selection of glazing tools and supplies to get the job done right, we design, engineer, and manufacture a comprehensive offering of frameless shower door systems, heavy glass doors, aluminum entrances and storefronts, architectural railings, transaction and display hardware. Privately owned and American made, FHC prioritizes you, the customer. You now have a choice. Visit fhc-usa.com.
Okay, now up. Thrilled to have the one and only Dapper Dan Reinhart, president and owner of Salem Fabrication Technologies Group. You can find them online at www.salemftg.com. Dan, thanks so much for doing the podcast.
Max, absolutely. I'd love to, and I appreciate you inviting me on. So thanks very much. I appreciate it. Love all your podcasts. Love what you do for the industry. So thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a thrill to have you on, and I'm really excited because I know you to a point, but this is always a great way for me to get to know somebody even better. Also excited to hear about all the good things you've got going on in your world, which you got a big number celebrating this year and so on. So we'll get to all that, but let's start with I'm really curious about your past because I only know you from the glass industry. I actually don't know,
Sure.
where you grew up, where you went to school, how you got into this crazy industry. Unlike some other people that I've known for a long time, I don't know any of that about you. So talk to me about your past and your journey.
Right. Okay. Well, fair enough. So I am from Ohio. I grew up in a very small town called Stone Creek, population 150.
Okay. What part of Ohio? I don't mean to interrupt.
That is just south of Akron, Canton.
Okay.
So New Philadelphia was the high school. Yeah, the town small enough, didn't even have a high school. In fact, it didn't even have a grade school. So they shipped us, the kids from Stone Creek off to the big city, which was New Philadelphia. And that city probably had 12,000 people. So yeah, pretty small town kid. That's for sure.
I have to admit, so I went to Ohio U in Athens.
Okay.
So I know Ohio pretty well, and I have friends in Akron, Canton, and so on. I've never heard of Stone Creek.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't. It's
wow.
right off of 77. It was 1 mile, it was probably about 4 square miles. It was actually a village, but we had one stoplight, one bar, 2 churches, and that was pretty much what I grew up with. We did have a general store when I was very young, but that closed down, probably when I was 12 or 13, and nothing ever came back in that area. So my mom lived there until, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and now lives in Dover, which I'm sure you've heard of Dover, New Philly, in that area. But pretty small town kid, and ended up going to school, college at Baldwin Wallace up in Berea.
Yep.
So of course that makes me a 100% Browns fan.
Absolutely. I was about to say that's where they train. That's your training camp.
Yeah. Our campus was, in fact, when I went there, I actually played football at Baldwin Wallace. So small school as well, small town kid going to the big city once again. But I watched many of the Browns practice in our facility because we had a turf facility, like when they would play Houston, or somebody else was going to be on the turf. They would practice in our George Finney Stadium there. And I got to see a lot of the Browns, Bernie Kosar back in the 80s when they were actually legit. So looking forward to the football season coming up, actually. I'm an ex-Fastenal guy. My first job out of school, industrial sales. I'm sure most folks know of Fastenal in some way, shape, or form. Big organization, very small when I started there. But I've been in industrial sales for a long time, and actually probably late 90s I started at Glass Equipment Development, GED, up in Twinsburg, Ohio. So very thankful to jump on with those guys back in the day, and learned a lot there. And I was there for just over 13 years. Worked my way up through the sales department, became the director of sales there, and enjoyed that time. And so I've been in the glass industry for over about 25 years now. And that time, I was looking to move out of the Cleveland area, maybe move to a little nicer weather. I got connected with Mike Willard, who is our current CEO. Mike is also a Northeast Ohio guy, went to Toledo, but him and I clicked. And I ended up taking the position at the VP of sales down at Salem, and moved here with my family about 12 years ago.
Okay.
So it's been a great run. Love the glass industry. So that's kind of some history for me. But the days at GED and learning the capital equipment side, a lot of good people there, and I still love to talk to those guys. There's some great people there that I love to see at the glass build shows and keep in contact with. But Salem's been very good to me, and the biggest thing for me was the employee ownership group.
Yeah.
And of course, the North Carolina weather does not hurt at all. So,
no. Very, very nice. Very nice. I love it. And so you got a nice range of experience there. And so now at Salem, it's interesting because, you've been there, more than a decade, 13, 14 years, you said. And a quick rundown for those who don't know what Salem does. And then if you could talk about, where Salem was when you came on 14 years ago, because it's a lot different now versus when you started. So first, what is Salem? What do you do? And then the changes in the Salem world.
Yeah, sure thing. So Salem, we are first and foremost an employee-owned organization. So we are an ESOP, employee stock ownership plan, that is geared towards your retirement. But everyone that works at Salem is an owner. So that part of us, that's part of our culture, and that's the first thing we should be recognized for. That is just an absolute wonderful way to run an organization. But with that said, we are a wholesale distributor. So we are supplying abrasives, diamond tooling to the industry in one division. The other division is our HHH, capital equipment division, which of course many of us or many folks know in the industry that tempering lines, vertical CNCs, we carry a multitude of lines for glass fabrication equipment. So, but we are, once again, a distributor. We don't manufacture anything, but we import and resell all of the products into the glass fabrication industry. Interesting enough, what people may not know is we actually have 4 different divisions under our supply division. So we also serve the stone industry. And then we also serve the ophthalmic industry. So the glasses that you're wearing.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. As well as what we call our advanced surfaces. So we are also into, say, fiber optics, polycarbonates, could be polishing aircraft windows. That's anything that's made out of a polycarbonate. But the common theme there between all the divisions is we cut, grind, and polish things.
Gotcha.
So glass makes up, our flat glass division makes up about 75% of our revenue at Salem. So the other divisions are much smaller, but certainly very important to us. And a lot of our sales team covers multitude of industries. So it kind of gives us a nice, we take something from maybe that we might see in the stone industry or the ophthalmic industry, and hey, that tool works well. How do we build it up and how do we relate it to the glass industry and vice versa? Something that works well, or we might have a polishing compound that works well in glass. Hey, could it also polish polycarbonate? So
nice. And so you have all those, but now talk about the changes, because when you came on board, obviously it was, doing certain things, and now it's all grown, correct?
Yeah, it certainly has. So we did a little bit of the capital equipment side. We had line of polishers, and we were doing that. But I think the organization really changed about 5 years ago when we acquired HHH.
Right.
I believe you'll probably ask me about Mike Sinan and Terry Hessam and those guys, and I know you're good friends with those guys. So they told me to keep it clean, to keep everything on the up and up, because Max knows, their history. So I can't tell you anything that's going to be, that's going to be a secret to you about those guys.
Love it.
That really changed the organization. There's a couple of things that really happened, but that was a big one for us in regards to sales coverage, what we do on the service side of our business. We have over 20 technicians out in the field. They're scattered all over the U.S. and Canada to be able to service our customers, not only on the tempering side, but for polishing products, for CNCs, whatever it might be. So our service side of the business is a big part of what Salem and HHH offer as well. I will say that one of the things that we did to really change us was look at something we called EOS. So it's the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Okay.
And that is just it's a platform to how we run the organization, communicate through the organization. Some of the folks out there that are seeing this might know about that, where we have our level 10 meetings. All of our owners have a measurable, that they are tracked on. And it sounds a little maybe not overbearing is the right word, but it's something to keep everyone aware of what they can do to help the ownership group, to help the organization. And the measurables are obviously defined on their types of jobs, right?
Sure.
If it's a service tech, it might be one. If it's a salesman, it's certainly another. Inside sales teams, things like that. So I think that really, we've been doing that for about 7 years now. And that really changed the communication level. I think it just took us to another level that we are better able to serve not only the fabricators out there, but all of our other divisional customers that we have. And it's been a real attribute to the organization as well. But, the real change, what from the industry, is really the collaboration and us connecting with HHH and really building what we consider today as the best organization out there to service the glass fabricator.
Yeah, no doubt. Premier collaboration there, and really, really strong. And then with EOS, obviously visibility makes a huge difference in the business and helps everybody grow.
It does. It does. And we try to communicate that throughout the organization. One owner, doesn't matter if you're in the shipping department, all the way up to our CEOs and presidents like Mike Sinan, they're all on the same page. They understand what's going on in the organization, from the balance sheet all the way through to, hey, what projects do we have going on, and where our service techs are, and what customers we have, and some projects that they might be working on at a location in California compared to one in Minnesota. So I think it really helps the communication throughout all the organization.
Yeah, and then the rest of the industry, obviously your customers see that. The better you are internally, the better it performs. And so that leads me to my next question: how's business? How's life? How you holding up?
Max, I'm always supposed to answer this as unbelievable.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that tells you that it could be just this way, or it could be that way.
That's a great answer. It's a perfect, it's unbelievable. So you can take of it what you want.
Yeah. So, but I know you want the skinny. So, it has been projected for us in the first 2 quarters, killing it out there, but it has been slower than what we thought compared to what budgeted numbers were at the start of the year. But I can tell you that we believe once we get through Q3, things should be picking up. I mean, our equipment backlog is strong, so that's good. But we have seen, you talk to enough fabricators, and I'm really gearing this towards the glass fabrication group, because that's the audience here. Some of our other divisions are doing pretty well, but once again, the smaller part of the business, of course. But the glass fabricators, are a little bit slower. And if they're not grinding as much glass or not buying as many tools, they may not be looking at those capital equipment projects. And I think what's going on in the country right now, I know if you look at the ITR metrics, sometimes they say that, presidential elections really don't affect the country, but that's not, maybe they're just not in our industry. And talking to the key folks and the owners and the presidents out there, the glass fabrication companies, it's definitely a mindset that things are a little crazy right now out there, which I think just affects overall business. So I don't know. What are you hearing? I'd love to, I'm going to turn this on you and ask a question about what everybody else is saying. I think you got to look at your supply chain.
Yeah.
You got to vet that out. And I think we have some really good suppliers and vendors to Salem. So that's been important. And we've taken time to do that, but I'd love to hear your input too.
Well, you nailed that. I mean, the vetting the supply chain is huge. It's soft in certain parts of the country. Some parts of the country are doing better than others. Texas continues to hang in there. Certain parts out west continue to hang in there. New York City is doing well. At least the people that I deal with up there. Other areas like New England are a little softer. Florida's starting to feel a little softness here and there, which is the first time they've felt that in a while. Right. Mid-Atlantic is a little softer. That Maryland, Virginia basin, a little softer than it's been. But so it's a little bit of a mix. But us, we're such a resilient industry. People try to figure things out and work through it. And so I think what you're experiencing, obviously you're a bellwether and, for other people with the equipment. So, and the support, but, I'm confident like you are that things are going to, tick up as the year continues to go on. No doubt. And this election is like no other election. Oh. So it doesn't matter, especially lately, last 2 weeks, it's changed again.
The last few weeks are just, we keep saying this, we've never seen anything like this. The pandemic, the events that we've had in our world over the last 5 years, Max, have been truly astounding, and things that just people haven't run into in the past. You just have to deal with it somehow, some way. So
Absolutely,
we'll work our way through it.
Yep. I'm with Dan Reinhart, president and one of the owners at Salem Fabrication Technologies Group. Check them out at salemftg.com to see everything that they do, which we learned earlier. They do a lot more than I thought in some different areas. So now we move to the fun one. I call you Dapper Dan. I'm wearing one of the pieces you gave me. If for those of you watching on YouTube, you could see.
Yeah. I got mine on as well. So there you go.
Love the swag always. And so I ask these fun questions every month to every guest, and I could ask you about your styles because you've got it, but that everybody knows that you're the most stylish guy. So that's like a fait accompli. You're done.
Okay.
My curious is bucket list. What's the top thing on your bucket list? Is it a trip, a car, more clothes? Are you going to be in a fashion show in Paris? I mean, what is Dan Reinhart's bucket list look like?
That's a good question, Max. I'll throw it out there. My bucket list. I play a lot of tennis. Okay. And I haven't touched pickleball yet. So I figure I'm young enough. I'm still playing tennis. I'm not switched over to pickleball, but it's got to be a trip to Wimbledon. I just spent all kinds of time. And I've been to the UK before. It's not something that we don't really have vendors from the UK, and I've had trips there. But Wimbledon would be on my bucket list. Obviously, the French Open, all the big tournaments. I've hit the Charleston Open down here. I know the Winston-Salem Open is coming up in a couple of weeks. So some smaller tournaments I've been to, but Wimbledon just doesn't get any better. That would definitely be a bucket list.
Love it.
Item, and of course, I'd have to have an all-white suit, Max.
Yes.
I don't own one today, so that would be cherry on the or cream on the
strawberry. Absolutely.
So yeah,
I love it. I love it. And that's perfect. I mean, first of all, Wimbledon is definitely on my bucket list as well because I'm a huge sports fan. I've been lucky enough to go to the Olympics and a Stanley Cup final and things like that. So as a sports fanatic, Wimbledon, I've been to Fenway Park and stuff like that. So Wimbledon's there. That's one of those things. But not only do you have the tennis factor in the Wimbledon, but the style. To watch you go for 2 or 3 days at Wimbledon and see what you would break out clothing wise, I'm there. That would be better than the tennis. I'll take that over seeing Djokovic or Rafa or any of the guys, or right now, the great kid from Spain, Carlos.
Alcaraz.
Alcaraz. So you would win that. So I love it. I love it. Very, very cool.
Now you're holding me up to now. What am I going to do for Glassville now? I'm going to have to come out with something. I'm not sure what it is, but
when you're the top, you're the top. You don't even have to try. I mean, that's
as long as you get a free shirt. I think that's why you're saying.
No, I'm a fan even without the free swag. Trust me, I love it. I love it. All right, so moving on because I know we've got stuff, and I know you are busy and definitely busy because Salem celebrating 90 years this year. 90 years in business. What's on tap? Big parties, just taking it easy, waiting 10 more years until you guys can do the 100. I mean, what's on tap for this year?
No. And I appreciate you asking and noticing. We are very, very proud that it's our 90th year in business. And some of the things that we have done is we've had a luncheon recently, was the most recent thing, for all retired owners, as well as we brought in our original, I guess he was the last owner that actually sold the business to the ESOP.
Okay.
So Bob Long was there. We had some past presidents. We had certainly retirees. You may remember a couple of folks from there. And now I'm just I was
all good.
Trying to remember.
Put you on the spot.
Bob Spears. My gosh, how can I forget Bob Spears? I don't know if you remember his name, but a lot of those folks that are watching this will remember Bob, a renowned guy that everyone loved to talk to, knew everything. He could recite his own Rolodex for the number of people that he knew. But that was one of the things we really enjoyed. And we actually had a time capsule that we put in. We had it buried when we became an ESOP. And we brought it up, and there were, some old T-shirts, our old logos, because we've gone through a marketing change for new logos, changed our name in the past. So that was really a lot of fun to see some of those folks that I worked with in the past that had been there and started the ESOP organization. So, I will mention we also have our 25th anniversary next year of being an ESOP. So
nice.
That's starting to get as what they call a mature ESOP. So we're really excited about what Salem is going through. And once again, that 90-year celebration, we will celebrate that at Glass Build.
Super.
So we're looking forward to that. I know we'll talk a little bit about Mike and Terry and their pending retirement. And, we want to celebrate those guys as well. And we'll kind of do that all in conjunction with the 90-year anniversary. But some of the things we're doing, we've done a lot of internal things more so than outlying.
Right.
But some of the things that we have done, we've got some great specials. So I will do a sales job here. Anybody that wants to join in our e-commerce site, we're very proud of what we're working on our e-commerce. You can order online. There's some specials going on out there. So we're trying to include the customers as well to notice, hey, we've got, our 90-year anniversary. We're celebrating with some discounted summer sizzlers and things like that on the sales side. Okay. So if they want to check out our website, as you've mentioned a couple of times, they can do that and join our e-commerce site and get some good deals out there for some of the products that they're currently buying.
Cool. And that's salemftg.com and, some specials, and it's celebrating 90 years, which is awesome. And I'm excited to hear that we'll switch now to that. You're going to celebrate a little bit of Mike and Terry, Mike Sign and Terry Hessam, who came over in the HHH acquisition and joined up and collaborated. Great guys, have made massive impacts in the industry. Obviously exciting for them to enter their new phase. But you guys, what's it look like for you from a transition standpoint and keeping everything rocking and rolling?
Yeah, fair question, Max, because a lot of guys know Mike and Terry. They've been around the industry. They are icons. They truly are. You can say that, and a lot of people get called that. But these guys, everyone knows Mike and Terry. From Mike certainly from the sales side, Terry from the technical side. There's nobody better, and those guys need to be celebrated. Mm-hmm. They will slow down. They are going to officially retire at the end of this year, but we have had not taken away from them, but we have, and with their mentoring, we have been under succession planning for close to 18 months. So we've got guys like Daniel Jessup taking over for Terry, Ed Robles on the machine side for Mike Sinan, and they've been traveling with these guys, working with these guys, and trying to transfer that knowledge. It doesn't come easily, right? And 18 months it sounds like a long time, but it's really not a long time. There's certainly work ahead of us to live up to what those guys have done in the industry, but they deserve to be celebrated. It's been a path well led for those guys, and they have certainly, we have benefited as an organization to have those guys be part of our team and part of the ownership group. Love them both. They've both been just guys that are willing to share, willing to pour out their knowledge and pass it on, not only to the key people that might replace them, but also down through the organization to how they can help us. So, and they, even though they might be retiring officially, those guys will be around to help us. We'll have some things in place where if they need to take a phone call, if a customer calls them, we certainly want them working with our new team because we're going to be in the day-to-day operations of it, but they're not leaving us hanging, or they certainly wouldn't leave their key customers and friends they've built over these 30 years in the industry. So
that's good.
I think they'll still be around. I know Terry's going to do a little fishing. Mike might do a little golfing, but I think if they needed to return a phone call, they certainly would.
Yeah. And Daniel and Ed are good people. And it's, I give you guys credit. I mean, taking a longer, pathway, like you said, 18 months sounds like a long time, but it's not really. But in the big picture of things, most transitions never give that much runway. So kudos to you and Mike and the team for, thinking that through. And then obviously Mike and Terry for being on board for that. That's smart.
Yeah, absolutely. It needed to be done. You just don't replace guys like that. And normally you're like, okay, how do we get 2 people, 3 people to replace? I mean, you got to transfer the knowledge somehow. And we're doing a lot of different things behind the scenes to try to do that using AI, believe it or not. We've got some programs in place, and we've embraced that. We know that's the future. There's a lot of things that we need to do to make sure that we continue that level of service. And that capacity for those 2 guys might leave a little bit of a hole, but I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah. Well, and I think the bottom line is that, Salem's been around for 90 years. The ESOP's coming up on 25 years. There's so many people with experience. You're all making the right moves to keep things rolling. Despite how great those two are, the plans are in place. And so kudos,
Yeah.
kudos to you guys, because stuff like that could really throw you up throw you a curveball, but it sounds like
Oh, absolutely.
you've thought of everything, and I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
Good.
and we
Good.
will celebrate those guys. We'll have
Yeah.
a happy hour for those guys at Glass Build, and they deserve to be celebrated. We'll all be able to host or hoist a drink for those guys. I'm not sure if we'll drink it out of a Viking horn or anything like that, but for those guys.
Well, Sinan enjoys the spotlight. Hessam does not.
Oh,
So
no, you're right about that.
So it'll be interesting. So I can see Mike enjoying the fact that people will pay him his due. Terry will be crawling out of his skin.
Yeah, Mike asked us to build a small podium that he could stand on but we are like, Mike, it's going to cost us some extra funds at Class.
I heard the statue he commissioned for the Winston-Salem place is pretty intense. So I look forward to seeing the ribbon cutting on the statue, the Mike Sinan statue.
Yeah.
Luckily, he doesn't listen or watch my podcast, so I can have fun with this. So
we'll send you some exclusive pictures from behind the scenes for that.
I love it. I love it. So wrap it up with Dan Reinhart, the president and one of the owners at Salem Fabrication Technologies Group. You can find them online at salemftg.com. Great site. Also has the e-commerce site. We've covered a bunch of things today: where Salem was, what Salem does, Dan's past, and so on and so forth. And we covered it a little bit when we talked about where business is, but just to kind of touch base on it again to kind of wrap things up. The biggest thing is what does the future look like? I'm assuming with a lot of your CapEx sort of things, you're out a good couple years, because you're not, it's one thing, some of your things are very inexpensive because you sell tools and supplies, but when you're selling a multi-million dollar piece of equipment, that's something that might take a little bit of time. What's the future looking like? How are you feeling? What sort of signals are you seeing in the marketplace?
Yeah, great question, Max. I think a lot of folks look at this as what are we doing? What are the next steps? Automation. Where do we need to be in regards to? Obviously, we've all seen the issues with workforce.
Yep.
It's hard to get someone that's hey, you're going to go work by a hot tempering line. You're going to throw glass around all day. It's a tough job, and it's hard to find good folks that are willing to stay for long periods of time. So if we can automate those processes, so that's what we're leaning. Most of our vendors have that type of mentality. We're trying to certainly align ourselves with folks that we talked a little bit about vetting out that supply chain. Well, not only does that in the tooling side, but certainly it's even more important on the machinery side for long-term ease of use for software, how they can use AI to better, and make more efficient movements throughout the system. And if that's automation for robotics, just the ease of use for equipment, changing out tools, less operator interaction. Can it be run from a remote spot? Can you have one person running multiple machines? All of those things, I think, are coming into the glass industry. It's been, honestly, Max, much slower adaptation than I thought it would be. When we saw the first robots come out, I'm thinking, my gosh, our big fabricators are jumping all over this. And you'd have to ask them why. I don't know if it's the capital investing, up front. If it's the concern that can I find people to run this, and I can tell that your mind is going. You're asking the same questions, because I really thought certainly the robotics of loading, unloading a washer, unloading an IG line, smaller things that robotics could replace, in my opinion, what we see as relatively easy, repetitive things. I'm surprised that it just hasn't been more accepted in the industry. Please.
For me, I'm surprised and frustrated by it, because I remember seeing that first robot that you guys, I think, brought to Glass Build in 2015, 2016, something like that.
Right.
And I remember you had it out there, and I know you sold a few out into the West Coast, and some people jumped on it, but it is frustrating when you see there's so many great robotic options, not only what you have and others, but the adoption is slow. And part of that, I do think, is the CapEx aspect. People are afraid to spend that money, but I think you bring up a good point. I think people are afraid of this style of workforce that you need You need less people, but you need higher qualified people. And I think that's what, for some reason, scares pockets of our industry, that they feel it'll be an easier fight to find, that old fashioned labor versus that engineer that they need, that engineer type. But I also think the way things are going, I mean, the way the youth is so into video games, for instance, they're and going to trade schools, I think things are changing where you want to attract that sort of youth in there, and people that are comfortable with a handset, and moving things around. So I think what you're offering it makes some sense, but we have to speed up the rate of adoption.
Yeah,
I think, or else.
Right. I think you're going to get to a point where people that don't adopt it are really handicapped in regards to what kind of business they can service, how quickly they can do it. And if you do lose key people that are doing manual labor, you're going to be behind the eight ball.
No
so
doubt.
I think it has to happen. I mean, we've taken this, as I hate to call it a step down, but our material handling options, from the woods lifts and the carts and the racks and even things like that, we've tried to upgrade those so they're more automated, and people seem to be a little bit more comfortable with those types of things, easing themselves into those types of things. But the automation, as far as handling, especially with glass getting bigger and bigger, and I love to see that, because the more glass in the industry, the more time that we're going to have in this industry to have fun and prolong our work life, so to speak. And I mean, glass is just getting a bigger part of the construction industry as a whole.
Big time.
And I love to see those large pieces of glass going out. We'll have some interesting things at Glass Build that we'll show. I think will be some pretty cool things that you'll see in the booth coming up. So,
all right.
But once again, that would be my overall just comment about we need to see more automation in the group, and we're trying to address that on our capital equipment side.
Huge take. No, I appreciate that. This has been great. I really appreciate it. Dan Reinhart, president and owner, Salem Fabrication Technologies Group. One more time, website salemftg.com. This has been super. We covered a bunch of stuff. We could see you, obviously, you and the team at Glass Build coming up this September. Thank you so much for the support of that every year. And I'm going to drive through Stone Creek and look for the sign that says birthplace of Dan Reinhart, glass legend, Dapper Dan. It should say Dapper Dan Reinhart. So next time I'm headed through Ohio, before I get to New Philadelphia, I'm looking for that sign in Stone Creek. It should be up there. You got to be the most famous resident. You have to be.
Oh, that's absolutely not true.
You have to be.
Absolutely not true. So,
well, I appreciate your time.
If you can find Stone Creek, you know what? There's another T-shirt or another shirt coming your way if you can actually find it on the map. So,
love it. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Look forward to seeing you at the end of September.
Thank you. I appreciate all you do for the industry, and thanks again. Appreciate all your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay. That wraps up the guest portion. Thank you to John, to Priscilla, and to Dan. Good stuff. Appreciate them. Also appreciate FHC for their support. If you need a glass railing, you got one place to go. It's FHC for award-winning American-made systems and unmatched lead times, customization, customer support. FHC is the go-to for glaziers. Methodically engineered, ridiculously easy to install FHC glass railing systems are in a league of their own. Check them out at fhc-usa.com. And thank you to FHC for the support of this podcast. As I usually do at the end of every podcast, quick little TV note. It is a football centric one for you. 2 shows on HBO Max, Hard Knocks, the New York Giants. It's an inside look at what was going on in the offseason. It's a little different than the typical Hard Knocks, if you're familiar with it. Really, really inside stuff on how this team was kind of put together, the way they handle free agency and the draft. Check that out. And then Receiver on Netflix. Receiver. It is the sequel to a series that they had last year called Quarterback, which they followed quarterbacks. This year they follow receivers. And again, inside sort of stuff, following these folks around, the football players and families, and really, really good stuff. And that's on Netflix. So check those out. Thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We'll be back in a few weeks with another one, and we're going to keep rolling along the best we can. So I appreciate everybody's time and support, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, the music is stopped.